Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another brand new Haolonggood release to check out, and this one is quite exciting because we have ourselves a 1/35th scale Megaraptor, and honestly, we really don't get Megaraptor figures from anybody, so having one from Haolonggood is definitely exciting. In fact, I would expect one from Haolonggood over most companies because they seem to give us a lot of really cool species. You can see the box here shows off an image as per usual of both different paint variants because we do have two like we usually do. If you take a look up here at the top of the box, you can see quite a few other figures that are all out here in the Haolonggood line, all of which we have reviewed here on the channel over time. And then over here the Haolonggood logo, same deal over here, and if you flip it around, the same again image you're going to see on both sides. So let's pop these out of the box and check them out. And here are our Megaraptors, and they look really cool. Again, sculpt wise they actually look phenomenal if you ask me. The paint schemes are pretty decent as well. Again, nothing super flashy, but pretty nice. And one of the things that was probably most questionable, I think, about these figures is their balance. And so far, right out of the box, they do seem really well balanced. You can see, you can wiggle them a little bit, and shockingly, they stand pretty nicely. So that's definitely good news for these figures, and hopefully that will continue on into the future, because sometimes you pull a figure out of the box, it stands great, and then over the next few months, it starts to warp. But here out of the box, even with this pretty dynamic looking pose we have going on, they do stand pretty nicely. So, as always, I'm really excited to take a closer look at them with you guys, so let's jump to it. So, starting up here at the head sculpt of the very first variant of the Megaraptor, you can see it has a really nice look to it. The head sculpt looks great, and we've also got lips for the figure, which is also a plus, as well as some really nice coloration. We've got some nice brownish tones, but then you have kind of like a light gray kind of running through the face there, as well as some black showing up here and there just kind of sporadically in the face. You've got some nice looking scale detail here for the lower jaw as well. We do have an articulated jaw. First time opening it, so it's a little bit stiff. You can see that the skin on the inside of the mouth there stretching looks pretty nice. We've got some nice realistic tones of color in there. You can see that the tongue is sculpted. Well, you could if my camera would focus on it. There we go. The tongue is sculpted nicely. We've got variation of color in there, as well as a nice gloss coat for the inside of the mouth. You can see the teeth are, of course, very small, but also painted pretty nicely, and you can see the teeth here on the upper jaw as well are really nicely sculpted, all sculpted individually, and again, painted really nicely. Zero sloppiness, but, the Haolonggood line always presents us with really nice paintwork, in my opinion. You can see the opposing side of the head also looks really good. You can see the nostrils sculpted out there, the ear sculpted out as well, and the eyes have a beautiful blue and a black pupil. Kind of remind me of the Dilophosaurus eyes, where they use those gorgeous blues on those as well. Definitely loving the addition of the blue eyes on so many of their figures. That jaw also works really nicely. You can see it articulates quite beautifully and also closes nicely. As you move back here into the neck, you can see some nice skin wrinkles. You can also see some osteoderms moving along the upper part of the neck here, as well as running along the spinal column of the dinosaur. One thing that is really nice about this figure that you may already pick up on, and that, if you know me, I'll like, is the fact that we have a nice dark wash for the figure, which is always a great thing. You can see some variation as well. As far as the coloration goes, we've got different variations of browns here running down the course of the neck, kind of like reddish browns, as well as some darker variations of browns. And then we have this kind of light gray sort of striping moving through as well. You can also see a very different tone of color for this area of the underside of the neck before we transition back. Not the smoothest transition right there, but it looks okay. As you move a little further down into the body, you continue to see really nice, very fine scale detail and skin texture here for our Megaraptor, as well as some nice creasing in the skin back there behind the arm. Both arms are kind of held into the body in a very similar way, nice and naturally, I think, to kind of give it the look of the dinosaur running along. That's pretty much where I would expect the arms to be held. You can see some more of those darker tones just kind of spotting and showing up sporadically as you move down. You've also got some nice scoots running down the course of the fingers. We transition to a bit of a darker tone once we reach the fingers. The nails as well look great. You can see they have an absolutely genuine sharp look to them, giving them a realistic look, and they're also painted with a black, kind of have a little bit of a satin shine to them slightly, and you can see the nails on the other side as well look really good. As we move back up into the stomach, you can see some kind of like yellowish browns for the lower part of the stomach of the dinosaur, also transitioning very nicely up to those browns. And you can see again those darker browns are really nicely applied here, as well as that striping. I think the striping actually looks pretty cool. At first I thought that it was a little bit out of place, but actually looking at it here, it is a pretty neat little addition to the paint apps, and not necessarily something that they absolutely needed to do, because I think the paint apps would have looked nice, perfectly fine without the striping, but they just wanted to add, I think, that little bit of flashiness to the figure, so I do actually quite like that. You can see the skin stretching off of the stomach here as the leg is trailing, as well as the muscle definition in the thigh. It is kind of present, but it's not overly defined, which I like because it doesn't give the dinosaur a shrink-wrapped kind of a look. You can see the hip bone, but just barely up here on the top as well. And then as you lead down, you can see the calf muscle as well as the knee. Again, that dark wash, definitely tying all of that coloration together quite nicely. As you lead down into the foot, you can see the foot is really quite extended, obviously for the running movement that we have going on with our dinosaur. You can see some nice scoots running down the front of the foot, and then again we transition to a darker tone and we have a black for the nails. But since the entire foot is pretty much black, it really doesn't look like there's much difference when it comes to the coloration of the feet. But we do have that black tone for both the foot and the nails themselves, or more like the toes, I guess most of the foot actually, and then the nails. As you lead up here into the top of the dinosaur as well, you can see, some osteoderms here running along the side, but you can also see a large cluster of them here up above the hip region in the spinal area. You can see, kind of like some small ridges moving along the spinal column, as well as, again, a whole bunch of osteoderms right there. More of that dark brown kind of just showing up sporadically. You see that same thing as you move down the course of that leg as well. And then as you lead out, you can see a little bit of nice looking skin detail. Again, kind of how the skin is stretching here off of the thigh and wrinkling right there, as well as back here in the tail. And again, that dark wash absolutely looking awesome on this figure. They're really good at applying the dark washes of their figures. In my opinion, it's, I would say, nearly perfectly applied every single time. You can see the underside as well. It just helps to give the dinosaurs, in my opinion, on top of extra color variation, just a nice dose of realism. And then you have that brown kind of leading out, but it does disappear as we lead out a little bit further. We have a few of those light stripes, similar to the squiggly stripes we have earlier on in the body. And then as we move out a little further, we do end the tail here with a dark tip. Again, it kind of transitions to a black for the tip of the tail. Nice curvatures for the tail as well. And then if we turn the dinosaur around, you can see again the head is pretty straightforward. There's not really a massive difference in the position. You can see there is a slight left-leaning turn for the dinosaur, but not a whole lot going on as far as that goes. So we're going to see pretty much the same type of detailing and everything as you move down the course of the neck. We continue to see that sort of striping effect moving through the body, again with those light tones, as well as that very dark brown, or maybe it's a black kind of spotting and patterning moving through. Really smooth transitions there to that lighter tone of the stomach. You can again see the arm is held in pretty much the same position over here, but one thing that is definitely different is the positioning of the leg, because this leg is planted. You can see how the other leg is up off the ground as the dinosaur is running along. You've got the skin wrinkling right there in the stomach because the thigh is kind of pushing into it as the dinosaur is running along, like you would expect. A few more of those light stripes, those squiggly stripes moving back here into the thigh. Some more skin wrinkling as you move down here toward the knee. Nice big bulging calf muscle, which again you would definitely expect to see, considering the other foot is kind of up off of the ground running, and this foot would be, or this leg I should say, would be supporting the weight of the dinosaur. You've got a really nice, very bird-like foot sculpt as you move down. Nice scoots down the toes, and again you can definitely see the nails are absolutely painted with a black, slightly darker tone of color than what we see there for the foot. And then you lead up here again as you lead out into the tail. The tail looks really nice from this side as well. And then as you lead along, you can see a cloaca here on the underside, as well as again that a little bit of variation of color, actually almost like some greens showing up right there. Nice dark wash here running along the underside. Very cool looking scale detail right there in the chest area of the Megaraptor as well. So definitely a really cool looking figure from Haolonggood, and I am so psyched to have a really nice Megaraptor like this now out on the market. And of course we have the other paint variant as well, which is going to be the same sculpt, no differences as far as that goes, just an entirely different paint scheme, although the paint scheme is actually pretty similar to the other one, just different tones, which is something that's very common when it comes to the Haolonggood line. So if you, first of all, actually if we start with the mouth, we open the jaw, you can see the other one had more of like, I think, a pinkish sort of a tone. This is closer to a purple when it comes to the coloration. Nice reddish wash on the inside of the mouth, though, definitely adding a little variation of color to the inside of the mouth. You can see the detailing on the inside looks really good on both the upper and lower jaw, and of course the teeth look really nice as far as the paintwork goes. I don't really see much as far as sloppiness or anything when it comes to the paintwork of the inside of the mouth. We have a really nicely painted eye yet again on this one, just like we had on the other one. And you can see again, considering how small that head is, look at how nice the paintwork is on the face of this figure. Haolonggood's paint jobs are just honestly out of this world. As you move back here, you can see kind of like a brownish tone moving along the spinal column of the dinosaur, even moving up here into the top of the head a little bit. But outside of that, we have kind of like a very cool bluish, almost like a bluish gray sort of coloration, but definitely closer to a blue as you move through the course of the figure. And we of course have that dark wash just like we saw on the first one. So at this point, I am so excited to see that is on both figures, because just like with the Dilophosaurus, all of the Dilophosaurus had the dark wash. All of the Megaraptors have the dark wash. Previously, they were kind of including a dark wash on one, not on the other. I'm really happy to see that they are now including that dark wash on all of their models, because I just think it, really adds a nice touch to the figures, and also, in my opinion, gives them a higher quality look. But as you lead back here, you continue to see that sort of striping effect moving along. You can see again that runs down here. I think the striping with this light kind of a gray striping is a lot more vibrant and a lot cooler looking, honestly, on this one than it was on the brown one. I'm not sure what it is about the way that these light stripes kind of play off of the tones of color of this one. A little bit nicer than the other one. The other one looked really good, but I think this one just looks a little bit flashier, which also gives this more, in my opinion, more of a male kind of a look. As you move down here into the arms, you can see again the coloration transitions to a darker tone as you lead down toward the hands. Again, the nails are painted with a black, and look at just how impressive the actual sculpt and fine detail is. On top of that, the actual quality of the model itself, like the detail is so vibrant on it. But as you move up here into the stomach region, you can kind of see like a greenish tone. Again, extremely smooth transition as you lead up. We have more of those darker tones just sporadically showing up through the course of the models. And I absolutely cannot stress enough how much I love the paintwork of Haolonggood. They're just so good at this. It always looks so much like body color, not just paint on a model. Like, it's so smooth when it comes to their application of the paint. You can also see, speaking of smooth, the bluish tone transitioning to a kind of a lighter tone as you lead back there through the course of the thigh. And then we continue to have that kind of brownish tone moving along the spinal column. And then again, more of that patterning moving down. We see the same thing, it looks like, as far as the foot goes, like we saw with the other one, but kind of more like a dark brown for the foot rather than a black. And again, you can see the nails are painted and painted very nicely. And yes, we do also have dew claws, which are also painted. Can see right there as well. And then we lead out into the tail, and you can again see that we have that kind of patterning, very, very subtle as far as its addition to the model. And then as you lead out, you again have a few of those stripes, just like we saw in the other one. As we lead out a little further, we again transition to a dark tip for the tail. You can see some really, well, again, if my camera would focus, there we go. You can see some really nice detailing here for the underside. Again, the dark wash, look at how nicely applied that is. It's applied so it's not even remotely thick or intense. It's just applied with the perfect amount so that it highlights the detail and just adds a little bit more to the paint job, a little bit more realism and depth to the coloration, I think. And then of course we turn it around, and you can see pretty much the same thing on this side as far as the figure goes as to what we had seen on the first side. It is absolutely gorgeous when it comes to both the sculpt as well as the paint. Man, Haolonggood is absolutely killing it lately. This is yet another incredible release by them. Yeah, I'm really impressed with how good these stand. I did not expect them to stand half as nicely as they do. They're very stable, honestly. As far as a length goes, from the tip of the tail to the snout, about 9 inches or 23 centimeters. And then for a height to the top of the head, you were looking at about 2 inches and about 5/8, or about just under 7 centimeters. You can see it's approaching 2 3/4 inches, or just a little under 7 centimeters, but not quite there. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A human being here next to our Megaraptors from Haolonggood, and you can see they're pretty much right in the size range you probably would expect. I know they're definitely where I expected them to be, even though we don't have very many Megaraptors, or none none, honestly, to compare with it outside of like the Arctic Figures version, but that's not the type of figure that would compare with these well. These are a very different style of figure, but you can see again they are pretty nicely sized without being large by any means. For another size comparison, we have the Haolonggood Allosaurus, which you can see these figures are actually pretty similar in size, honestly. I think just a slightly different positioning, but overall they are very similar in size. We also have the Haolonggood Nasutoceratops, again for another comparison. I think at this point, because there are no other Megaraptors that I can recall out on the market right now, besides like Mattel and Arctic Figures, and neither of those are figures that should be compared with these, because these ones are so much smaller than any of those other ones. You're not going to find a good comparison with these at all. So I think the best route would be to just continue to bring in different Haolonggood releases for a comparison, because if you are interested in these, you probably already have some other Haolonggood figures in your collection. We've also got their Daspletosaurus, which you very easily can see is quite a bit larger than the Megaraptor, as well as their Ouranosaurus, which is yet another very popular release from Haolonggood. We've also got the Ankylosaurus, again from Haolonggood, another of their very impressive figures, but also one of their few sauropods. And the final figure we have for a comparison is the Haolonggood Carnotaurus, yet again to help iron out a size on this Megaraptor. So these brand new Haolonggood Megaraptors are both fantastic. Honestly, two really cool figures from them, and two that I am super excited about. And when they were first unveiled, I was like, wow, Megaraptors, that is awesome, because nobody releases figures of this species, again, outside of like Mattel and Arctic Figures. And we really don't have any models like this, like really cool, high quality, realistic interpretations that are, you know, in 1/35th scale specifically. So was really excited overall to see these getting released, but I didn't pay so much attention to the original images of them because I knew I absolutely needed to have them no matter what they looked like. And now actually having them here, getting a good look at the sculpts and paint apps of these, they look so nice. Like the sculpts are really well done, and when it comes to this, it looks great to have both of them together because it kind of looks like it's like a pack of Megaraptors sort of running together, maybe running in for a kill, or I guess in this case just a pair, but you could probably buy a whole bunch of these and have a really cool, like an entire family of Megaraptor. And considering they're the same pose and they're both running, it's not like they look out of place together. They look like they belong together even if they are in exactly the same position. And again, the actual sculpt itself is really nicely done as always. The detailing is crisp, it's abundant and beautifully done through the course of the entire model, definitely showing off every ounce of movement that you would expect to see, especially considering the quite dynamic position we have for these. On top of that, you have really nice paint apps, and you know, at this point I think it would be very strange if we ever got a Haolonggood model that didn't have nice paint apps, so you know, it's kind of to be expected at this point. But I can say again, they've done a great job of choosing the actual paint schemes for both, and also applying the paint in a really nice natural way, and also yet again, in my opinion, giving us kind of a male and female, which they do often, and again, it's another thing I really love. And then you just top all of that off with the fact that we have an articulated jaw, and you have yourself another round of winners from Haolonggood. So if you are interested in picking these up for yourself, I will include a link in the description to where you can do that on Lana Time Shop, because that is exactly where I purchased mine. So make sure you check that link, go grab these absolutely awesome Megaraptors, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.